Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steam Demo Derby. We have a bunch of demos to take a quick poke at. There's 27 of them in total that I checked out over the course of the Autumn Game Festival, and let's just jump right into them, shall we? D.E.E.P, Battle of Jove, is a space combat sim with an arcadey style twist, and damn it looks good doing it. Fancy ship models, great environments, and tons of generally nice looking effects to it. The gameplay isn't half bad either, although it can be a bit slow, and that stunt button doesn't seem to be very good for much. Either way, it looks promising. Rogue Shift reminds me of Crimson Land in a lot of ways. A lot of bugs, a lot of bullets, and a top-down twin stick to go with them. Rogue Shift adds on a campaign with a plodding pace, action but little excitement, and some unusual choices as to things like having a separate oxygen and health meter that you refill on kills anyway, both at the same time. It's hard to recommend, honestly. Skeletal Avenger is the latest from 10 Tons, a dungeon crawler with barely any dungeons to crawl. While the base gameplay itself is fine on a conceptual level, and it feels surprisingly polished for an alpha demo, there's almost zero excitement to the combat, upgrades, or enemy variety, to the point where I just died out of kind of forgetting the concept of self-preservation. They're gonna need to add a lot more spice to get me to try it again. Unbound Worlds Apart is a Metroidvania with a unique portal mechanic, allowing access to a second universe in a tiny circle, which gets modified in a couple of fun ways. It looks gorgeous, the platforming is solid, although I'm a bit worried about just how far they can push this portal mechanic, since the demo shows off nothing else in the way of gameplay. I'm a bit on and off about it, as puzzle Metroidvanias aren't my thing, but I won't say to avoid it outright either. Skycadia feels like a tech demo meant for polishing a concept. There's a small, simple planet, enemies flying around, and that's it. Bullets come from all directions and are really hard to see. There's nothing in the way of pickups, upgrades, or abilities, just live for as long as possible. I'd need to see more before I could really approve of it, and it seems really inappropriate for a demo in an event like this. Just Die Already is Goat Simulator under a different name. Brainless carnage in a world with exaggerated physics and some big amount of toys to play with. If that's your thing, great, but to me it's not worth the time at all. Aeon Drive is a time attack platformer a la Dust Force, but outside of decent graphical presentation, the gameplay sits right on the unpleasant boundary of not light enough but not heavy enough either. The maps are this weird mismatch of you have to finish quickly but you also have to explore, and this weird sign up for our newsletter for more content prompt at the beginning of the game just threw me off. No thanks. Chains of Fury is just garbage. Just garbage. It's got a level layout that's incredibly confusing, AI that doesn't react to you shooting them at all, weapons that feel like crap, and nothing in the way of enjoyment in anything else. Avoid like the plague. Motor Strike gives me the same kind of retro-esque feel I was looking for when I was playing Hot Shot Racing. The tracks are fun and destructible, the car references are almost lawsuit-worthingly funny, and the actual racing and combat are alright. Everything else is just a little around the edges. Some polishing would really help. It's worth keeping an eye on though, I reckon. Manifold Garden is a puzzle platformer that looks absolutely gorgeous, with the thick black lines and endlessly repeating structures being an absolute pleasure to perceive. I just wish the game gave me a closer look at later game puzzles so I could figure out whether or not I'm too stupid to actually get very far. Rawmen is a Fall Guys clone. Well, not really. It has a few unique mechanics and a theme that I quite enjoy. Unfortunately, there's very few maps, no single-player option, and a reliance on physics to brute force fun, quotes, so I find it to be a bit disappointing in the long run. Can't imagine it lasting very long after it launches. Mutropolis is the best example I can give for just getting to the action faster in your demo, since most of it is just standing around, talking to people in a specific order so you can solve a puzzle. It looks really nice and has some good writing going on, but man, just give me a better idea of your actual puzzles and not a fetch quest next time, please? Drone Swarm is really cool. You have control of this huge swarm that you have to use to protect the ship and attack the enemy, and it sells it with this gorgeous animations of hundreds of individual drones slamming into ships from afar. The gameplay is actually quite simple, almost resembling a mobile game, but I can see where they're going with it, with general upgrades being fed to you as it goes on. I will definitely keep an eye on this one.
Integrity is at 25%. Protect the Argo! We have to be mindful of those heavy lasers. Perhaps we can disrupt them with a cannonball attack. And thus...
Speed Limit is also really, really cool. Playing like a throwback to an 80s microcomputer platformer. It's fast, it's furiously difficult, but it's fair with reasonable checkpoints. It changes up the gameplay frequently enough to keep me interested, and has simple enough controls to make getting through all the more satisfying. At the right price? Yes, please. Probably my highlight of the event. Strobophagia is weird AF. All these weird, crazy dudes dancing around, routers to download messages, and creepy forests to trek through has the presentation on lockdown. But its walking sim style gameplay can't really keep my attention for that long. With that said though, if this is your thing, jump right in. Red Wings is a decently produced, somewhat enjoyable dogfighting game that's let down by being way too easy, with enemies needing to massively outnumber you in order for them to stand a chance. Sure, it might get hard in the later levels, but this early sampling was just so simple that it ended up with me not really want to dig in much further. Disjunction is a 2D stealth title clearly inspired by Metal Gear Solid. The base sneaking is good and I like the abilities you have access to, but the AI is completely brain dead to a point where they won't hear a gunshot on the next screen over, or they won't even react to an alarm going off in their ears, leaving the whole thing feeling a little disjointed. Tee-hee. F.I.S.T is a 2.5D brawler with mechanically enhanced animals, and it's actually alright. Platforming works alright, brawling is satisfying. Neat takedown animations and some decent variety so far. Just needs a bit more in the way of player weapons and combos, and it'll be doing pretty well for itself. Ardien Arise is a twin-stick space shooter with a little tab of tower defense. While it looks and sounds the part, the ship is way too fast, along with your enemies, making everything feel like a bit of a spam fest in the hope that you hit something, which the game compensates for with a legitimately ridiculous aim assist, making aiming almost pointless. Hard to find any enjoyment out of it. Glitchphobia is, ironically enough, not as glitchy as I would hope. The demo is a simple series of puzzles that aren't too hard to work around and are barely glitchy in any terminology I would hope for. I was expecting mind-bending puzzles a la Antechamber, not simple stuff like this. They might be saving some of the better puzzles for later, but this demo was just too dry for me to get a good impression. The Enigma of Salazar house feels like a watered-down Shadowgate on the NES. The puzzles are simple, the writing is uninteresting and a bit lightweight considering the small amount of on-screen space, and the movement and interaction with the house is kind of lackluster for an adventure title. Not that impressed. Wave Break is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with animals, boats, and guns. Why not? But no, the tricking is satisfying, the soundtrack sample is actually top-notch, and the combat could use a little damage adjustment, but it's still great. The game could use a little more polish for the camera as well, help you get out of tight spaces a bit easier, but otherwise, absolutely would recommend. Conscript is Resident Evil by way of World War I. Sneak around beautifully animated trenches, recover supplies, avoid monsters, solve puzzles, and find your brother in all the chaos. The only issue I really have is the combat controls being a bit weird to get a hang of, but that's about it. Definitely keeping an eye on this one. GORI, Cuddly Carnage, is an over-the-top satire of toys coming to life and beating the crap out of you, but you return the favour with a hoverboard with blades in it. It's a bit of lightweight, mindless fun, held down by the slow pace and an absolutely obnoxious camera that really needs a better way to face where you're going. Kaze in the Wild Masks definitely has some good presentation, but the downside comes with a gameplay that feels like a no-frills recreation of Donkey Kong Country's slightly brain-dead cousin. It's easy, very little in the way of platforming variety, and it just doesn't feel that good to play moment to moment. We'll see where it is in a few months. And our final title is Gripper, a driving action title where your main weapon is a claw that grabs and throws things. Unfortunately, that gripper is a bit awkward to aim and use, with half the demo being accelerating on the spot to pull something out of the ground, and the other half just wondering why the hell the world is at such a weird scale. When you come across the plane and notice that it's supposed to hold people bigger than your car, it gave me a sense of disconnect from the world that I never really got back. I don't think I'll be picking this one up. Well, that's it for the Demo Derby. I'm definitely going to be checking out Speed Limit, Wave Break, and Conscript when they come out. Tell me what demos you thought I was wrong about in the comments. And for everyone else, this has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.